Hello, Uglies. We want to apologize for the podcast schedule interruption, but Halloween season is here and we are busier than ever. After an incredible Los Angeles Halloween ball this past weekend, we are headed to the East Coast for appearances, with a reminder that we'll be in Boston on Halloween night for our annual ball. And this year, don't miss us as special guests on The Kelly Clarkson Show. Tune in on Halloween Day. We'll be back next week with a Boulet Brothers Dragula post-mortem double feature review.
Now from Hollywood, California, the horror capital of the world, the Boulet Brothers, creatures of the night.
Hello, Uglies. We are back, and now it's time to continue with our post-mortem of episode 4 of the Boulet Brothers Dragula season 666, the Ghost Train episode. Now, we've discussed all of the details of the episode proper, but we had so many backup listener questions this week, we decided to break this episode up into 2 parts just to give it the respect and the time it deserves. So, welcome to the second part of this week's post-mortem, where we are going to answer all of your listener questions. Here we go.
Alex writes, "Hi, moms. Why was Desiree and Majesty's disagreement from the trailer not shown?"
Okay, so I've said this on the podcast before, but I want to repeat it. The trailer, first of all, is made before the episode, so you don't always know what's going to make it. I think it was in one cut, but the episode was like an hour and 20 minutes or something. So they're like, you have to cut this down like 25 minutes. So things just get trimmed out. That's what I was saying about Auntie on the first part of this episode. Saying things to Majesty always didn't make it in the final cut.
Yes.
This is an example of that. They got in an argument. It was very toxic. It didn't go anywhere. It didn't get resolved. It just sort of was nothing. And they had been at each other's throats all season. And I honestly thought the audience would think it was boring. Because they were fighting from episode 1. And you know how sometimes we don't see it until later. And then the fans will be like, they're still talking about that 3 episodes. I was like, I'm not doing that this year. So that's kind of the thing. There wasn't anything to it. It wasn't interesting.
I think when there's no resolution, it's hard to justify including it. And some of the stuff that they were fighting about happened off camera. And and no matter how many times we tell any cast from any season, limit your interaction when you're not on camera, because the audience can see holes in your communication and your friendships and your relationships. And if stuff happens off camera and you make reference of it, it generally doesn't make it into the show because audiences have nothing to reference. There's no receipts, and it just makes the story kind of boring.
It does. And it also makes it impossible for us to tell that, because let's say a competitor came on set and said, this person burned my house down between the 2 episodes. If we went on the air and said, well, they burned their house down. If they didn't, we would be like slandering that person. No, seriously, so it's, you just can't touch that.
Sure.
People are adults. If they get in arguments and shit offset, I mean, think about season 3. They're about to kill each other every night,
Yeah.
It's season 4 too, really.
It's weird, and I'll keep this short. I think, too, having not been there, and I was not a part of the editing process, sometimes you just don't know how the fans are going to react. And it's like, okay, we in previous seasons, we include stuff and fans go ape shit nuts. And they're like, how? Oh my God, this person is a bad person. This person is terrible, evil, cancel.
Yep.
And it's so out of context that it's like, okay, well, maybe we shall not do this. Maybe we will pull this back. And then there's almost no winning sometimes. It's like, you want it hot, you want it spicy. Oh, it's too spicy. You want it lukewarm. It's just,
that's what it is. And I think that fight was way too spicy on both people's point of view. And I'm like, not needed at all.
That's why you got to do what I do. I don't give a shit about anybody's opinion.
Yes. Jack Roy from Maryland asks, my question, Sigourney Beaver has recently launched a YouTube series called Obituary, where she recaps episodes of the Boulet Brothers Dragula. We're currently only 3 episodes in, and Sigourney is crushing this role. Her questions are substantive, her commentary is on point, and her guests have been incredibly entertaining. Have you all considered blessing this an official recap show to complement the Creatures of the Night podcast?
Sigourney, I already told you no.
This is so Sigourney coded.
I'm like, Jack Roy, if you mix the letters up, is Sigourney Beaver.
It's like, Jack Roy. Yeah, they'll never know.
They'll never know. Sigourney is so nice and her hair is so good.
She has the best jewelry of any contestant in any season of the show.
Yeah,
she's gorgeous.
There are multiple recap shows this year. We can't really pick one because, we have to love everybody in the family. JK has one. Sigourney has one. Trinity, the Tuck has one.
Kendra has one. Hi, we have the only one, really. But
there's a lot of them out there this year. I was surprised at how many happened. So I love that everyone's listening to them. I'm sure Sigourney's killing it. We had talked at one point, I think, after season 4 about her and Saint doing something like that. So who knows what'll happen in the future.
Cole C. from Maryland writes, I have a question about a previous extermination specifically, but it can extend to others. With the skydiving weight limit being around 200 to 250, what would have happened if severity was in the bottom this episode? I don't mean to sound shady.
What?
Girl, that is so
Damn.
Cole, see, you have been, I'm sorry, sweetie, we can't answer your question. You have just been completely canceled.
Well, finish the question. What is it?
I live. I don't mean to sound shady. Cut to is shady. But she herself said that she is a big person height-wise online. So I have to expect that she is around, perhaps above this limit. Would you change the extermination with another week's extermination? Has this happened before?
It has never happened before.
Never.
And I'm pretty sure with one exception, everybody has been able to do all the extermination. That's part of this long application process where how much do you weigh? What's your doctor's note? Do you have, there's so many things, and that's part of it. So we haven't been faced with that yet. Would I change it? I don't know. I guess I'd have to see it. It's kind of I don't think I would put someone in that position in the first place, right? It's like if I didn't think they could do it, I'd just change it and not say anything.
I remember Violencia tried to use that. I remember she was like, well, there's a weight limit.
And what did you say?
And I go, well, how much do you weigh? She's like, this much? And I was like, ooh, so sorry, honey. The weight limit is actually much higher than that. I'll see you in the morning.
She goes to craft services and try to eat everything real quick.
I'm like, too late. I already did that. Monica from Santa Monica writes, she's back. Monica from Santa Monica says, this season of the Boulet Brothers Dragula, we have seen multiples in the floor show categories: clowns, babies New Year, Uncle Sam's, etc. I'm genuinely curious what you think the contestants should do in situations where they notice a common theme occurring. Should they construct a new garment/look, or simply retool it or name it something else?
I mean, I think that's kind of limited and up to the skill level of said competitor.
Yeah.
If it were me, I would say, ooh, okay, I'm seeing something that's getting too close to what I'm doing. Let me spin it. I don't think I'm going to start from scratch, but I will definitely, kind of like what Drax said, like one's President's Day and one's the 4th of July. And you know what? They look the same, but if one of either Vivi or Majesty had that in their heads, they could have made some choices in the lab and like working on their looks to kind of push toward a different holiday.
Yeah, I think there's plenty of time for you to change your look around. And, I wouldn't say start from scratch, but I think you could definitely spin it one way or the other.
I want to say this too. It's not like we saw the same type of inspiration in the babies or the Uncle Sam's. Like those baby New Year's couldn't be much different. Like Pies was just straight up bizarro, baby, and I actually kind of secretly loved it. But and Haunted Baby Mansion has got a whole life of its own now online. Very different. So I wouldn't have like made a big deal that they shared the holiday because the influence and the end look was so different.
Yeah.
Kayla from Cincinnati asks, if my thinking is correct, you all filmed the death scenes after the contestant knows they were eliminated. If that's the case, have you ever had someone so upset they were eliminated that they almost didn't come back to film their death scene?
Kayla, you're very insightful to think this through, and don't think we haven't thought about that extensively like in previous years.
Well, I will say that we used to do the death scenes the first thing we would do with them when they got here for that very reason. Because I was like, what if somebody gets mad and they won't do it? So I was like, well, let's do them all in advance. But they didn't tie in with the challenges then because you didn't know what episode they were going to go home on. So ever since then, we do them after the fact now. And nobody has ever, I mean, people want their death scene. It's iconic. I don't know. No one's ever tried to refuse, even in the most extreme situation.
Yeah, I think that's actually one thing that has always been cool, and something that I love is the death scenes to me personally are, this is your shining moment. Like, it's cool to be killed in a horror movie. Like,
right.
is that not part of the amazing thing about horror movies in general? It's like, show off your acting, get some blood thrown on you, do some iconic shit.
Yeah, it's a thank you and kind of a cinematic kiss goodbye.
Yeah.
I also think it's an opportunity for them to show their acting chops.
Yes.
Like, Severity did
was great.
so much
So
better in her
good.
death scene. I was like, this is what you should have gave us in the show. I mean, she was there for a short time. You shouldn't have the opportunity, but I'm saying, they have skills beyond what you see on the show.
Well, and when Desiree, as the paralegal, forgot her purse at the office and had to come back after hours.
I will say some of them are easier to work with than others.
Oh, that's very true.
Right. That's true. But nobody's
There-
ever not done it.
There was one in particular where I was like, all right, Carissa, camera ops, we got to kill this bitch in like 30 seconds.
Oh my God. There was one season where the death was so dark and ignominious. I remember when we were filming, I was like, okay, now lay on the ground. Just fucking just.
And all of you were acting like you were up for extermination.
Hell yeah.
Like everyone's like, I can't go on the shoot today because I'm like, Casey, get in the fucking van. Like, are you kidding me?
Yes.
Nathan's like, well, I'm not feeling great today. I'm like, get in the van. You are going out there and you're doing
And Jack's like, you're going to have to kill her. Jack's like, I can't do it. She's like, you're going to go and you're going to go. By the way, Swan, you're going.
Swan, you're
I'm
gonna
not
go
going.
too.
I had shit to do.
Oh, yeah. You're
I
like,
was at the Ren Fair while you guys were killing them.
damn. Wow. Oh, and then I love
that we all know exactly what we're talking about.
And then one more thing. And this was, and I'm going to point the drag finger at you with the big old claw nail on it. I remember when it was being edited, you were like, put the effect on it. Do it. We're like, are you sure? And you're like, do it. I was like, this is so dark.
I was like, I want this to be brutal.
That death scene is awesome.
Oh my God.
It's so good.
I love you guys.
Amazing.
On that note, we are going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. All right, my darlings, we have returned on with the show.
Kate writes, I am emailing because I have to know who is responsible for the banshee wail in Nosferatu Beach Party. Every time I die, it's so fucking funny and camp. It gives spooky sound effect cassette tape, and I am obsessed. That granny hag understood the assignment.
What granny hag?
She's saying whoever's howling in the background, that granny hag got it together.
I think I sound fantastic in that song.
I think her exact wording was, whoever did the banshee howl must be a granny hag from hell.
That song was hard to sing, but I had so much fun.
It's awesome.
It was
so
fun.
good.
I couldn't, when I first was doing it, I was like, I looked at the producer, I was like, yeah, right. I was like,
Seriously.
what? But then I did it.
When she was vocalizing, she's like, no, it goes like this. And she was like doing the woo. Like, it just goes insane. I'm like, oh my God, how is Chuck going to do that? But you totally got it. You totally nailed it.
You nailed it, granny hag.
It's giving evil B-52s.
Oh, that's how I feel.
Yeah.
But that
Yeah.
makes me the evil Fred Schneider. Not into it. Hate Shaq.
Cock lobster. Neenan asks, I just started listening to this pod for season 666, so I apologize if this question has been asked before, but when do you plan on doing another season of Titans, if at all?
We were not going to do a season of Titans for a while. We kind of, I think we talked about it on the podcast before, but I'll answer it since this listener's new. We weren't going to do it. Right. We were just not I don't know. I loved it. It was super successful at the time. It was the most watched season of the show to date. Very successful. The tour was fantastic.
The tour was killer.
But it was hard to film, I'll say. Everyone was so emotional, but I've had time to think about it. And I think with a different cast and some particular changes, it could actually be incredible. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I am into it, but as far as when we're going to do it, I cannot tell you that.
I'm going to say this. It's on my mind. It's at the forefront of my thoughts when I think about the future of Dragula, and I'm excited about it because I think that the change in Titans 2 starts with us. And if we have it in our minds that like this is going to be this kind of season, now we know what it feels like to invite people back and have them fight best of the best. So it's almost like a little bit of a learning curve, but this time like we're going to design this and it's going to be awesome.
Fabian from California writes, I recently went to go see the Rocky Horror Picture Show from a local theater production and realized that before everyone comes out in their lingerie, Frankenfurter says, let the floor show begin. I was just wondering if that's the reason you guys say it before the floor show begins. Any correlation?
Ding, 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 ding. It's exactly why we call it that. Yes, Rocky Horror has a big influence on Dragula. Look at the dripping letters. It's the same kind of vibe.
Yeah, Drac and I have done the Transylvanian handshake several times on the show. And the name of this show, Creatures of the Night, is a direct reference to Rocky Horror.
We are all Transylvanians at heart.
It's true.
Damn it, Janet. James writes, my question is in the spirit of Death Becomes Her and the substance and all things vanity. What is your magic beauty secret? I want to know your skincare routine or at least your magic elixir supplier. You both are immortal queens.
Thank you, darling.
Yeah, I wish I had the dedication to apply like 1,000 products every day. People I know, I mean, you'll use a lot of stuff.
I will.
And
I am like the potion queen.
Israel has a whole thing of potions and tinctures, and I just can't do it. I like to get out of the house in the morning. I'm just like, I don't want to. I got shit to do. I got to get out of here. I don't want to sit here and like groom myself for 40 minutes.
That's why I stay home and I'm like, I'm not coming out of the bathroom for an hour.
So to be honest with you, I don't do a lot. I mean, I'll do like little extra extreme things like, lasers or different things like that. But I don't do any like skincare regime. I like to use natural stuff like jojoba oil or coconut oil, stuff like that. Because my skin doesn't react very well to all the chemicals either.
That sounds so annoying.
It's true.
For people that like really, devote themselves to like a beauty regimen, when someone's like, I really don't do anything, you're like, bitch. My secret that I discovered over the past like couple years, and I use it every day and I love it, is snail mucin.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. From Korea. It's like, I'm telling you, like, I don't know what it is about the Korean cultures, but they are like skin sorcerers. Like they know and do everything. So anything that I read out of like Korean beauty, snail mucin.
Okay. Nicholas asks, last week, Drac discussed the skydiving extermination as one you would deliciously dread. Swan and Ian, which extermination would you both least want to endure, and which would you all like to have a comeback, either the same or heightened?
The one that I would die to do, and I always forget about this one, and this is my eternal answer. You guys, please hold me to this. Never let me forget. This is my favorite extermination of all time, is the Thunderdome.
Yes.
The Thunderdome fight. I mean, I would pay money to do that against anyone.
Absolutely.
You actually would. You'd pay a lot of money to have to do that again because it would cost a lot.
Yeah, it's so good. I mean, ones that would freak me out, honestly, that bungee jump from the bridge last year, I was like, girl, I don't know if I could do that.
For me, as far as pushing it one step further, shark diving at night. Because the sharks are still there, but you can't see them.
Love that.
What about you?
I'm going to say the one that I would not want to do, and I would do all of them, but The only thing it doesn't scare me, I just don't like it, is physical pain. So piercings, like that, every time that happens, I'm like, ooh, God bless, everyone have fun. I'm good. This seems just not fun because
I have a bunch of piercings.
Yeah, I mean, my titties are pierced. Like it's all,
Your nose, everything.
Yeah, like cool.
Her
Fun
taint's pierced.
Girl, it's been pierced, been ripped out, been re-pierced. The substance activator, honey. But it's just not like a fun thing on like a Tuesday night for me to be like, ooh, shove this zero gauge through my throat. Like, ugh, like, God, that is so horrible. I'm going to say, though, because I love adrenaline junkie shit is super fun. Like the bungee jumping, I was like, let's do it. But I'm actually going to agree with you. Like, I think the shark diving, it was so cinematic and so cool, but I was like, let's really scare me. Like, let's amp the fears. Because I already have a fear of open water and looking down into the abyss. So if it's all abyss, freak me out.
This is what I want to do. I want to drive out in the middle of the ocean, right, at night. I want to put floaties on the two people that are up for extermination and put a light on their head. Oh. And then put them in the water and drive away. I mean, drive far away and just leave them there. Now, do you think that would be scary?
100%. Absolutely, yes. Oh my God. Mama, I'm the anglerfish of my own nightmares.
I want to do it. Oh my God, that gave me such an idea. We could put anglerfish helmets on them so we can find them.
Cool.
But I'm always afraid that like we'll come back and we can't find them.
She gone.
If the waves are too big, you know, sometimes if you get too far, you get like 6 waves between you and something small, you lose it. So I don't know. Maybe we lose them. We could put a sonar thing on them, I guess.
Ooh, just put me in a submarine down to the ocean floor. Danny asks, I have a hypothetical question. In an alternate universe of the Boulet Brothers Dragula, where Drac and Swan were not the horror hosts, but rather competitors, who do you think would have the better chance of winning the show? Not trying to spawn any National Argument Day discourse, but I have been very curious.
This is easy. The biggest loser of the show would be whoever has the audacity to try to host it. Because Jack and I would kill them. Jack and I together would kill them.
It really depends. Like I think it's all about right place, right time. So if we both went on and let's say the first 2 challenges lean towards my strengths, I think I'd do really well.
Sure.
I think if it was just straightforward, I think you would do better in a competition setting like that. I think I'd be excellent drama. So they probably wouldn't get rid of me.
Yeah, which absolutely counts.
Yeah, but I think you might, as far as the competition, because you have all the dancey skills and all that shit. I guess I'm thinking about Drag Race because I'm like, if I was on my show, then I'd do good.
Yeah, you'd be good.
Yeah.
You'd be a manipulative viper. No, I'm not kidding. Totally kidding. Totally kidding. No, you're too honest for that, but you will cut somebody, and when that happens, I love it.
Well, I usually hold that back, but if I was going to go on a reality show, I would break all that maturity off and revert to my true form.
You got to show up for work. And I love this reference to National Argument Day.
Yeah, my favorite holiday. Tom from Philadelphia writes, what's going on with the jump cuts this season? I've noticed sometimes the screen will fade to black and cut into the same scene. It's giving old school Goosebumps vibes, and I'm wondering if that's what you were going for.
Of course. But no, really, here's the weird thing. Watch it on a different device and they are not there. So some people are reporting this.
Really?
Yes, I saw it firsthand in someone's home theater. But then we all, like the next day in the office, digging through everything, and it didn't show up like that anywhere else. So I don't know if it's some kind of setting or something on people's TV.
That is so weird. And I'm so sorry because the level of destruction panic that I would have because that's never happened to me.
Yeah.
But I just know how I be because I always catch it like that. I would be like,
oh, it super sucks.
I have to talk to you right now.
It sucks so bad. We were at a viewing of episode 1 this season and we were at like the big home theater and that fade in and out happened. And I mean, I know you felt exactly like the hairs on the back of my neck.
I don't think a lot of people noticed it, but I hated it. I was like, what happened? I thought something was wrong with the file, but
Someone on the production, like editing side, mentioned something that oftentimes those will be placeholders for linear. So if it's on AMC, like the channel, that's where the commercial will be, and that they created those breaks in the footage. I mean, that is not the way the show looked when we delivered it.
And if you watch it on your laptop, it's not the way it's going to look either.
Right. With I haven't seen it, and I mean, I am a Hawkeye for that kind of shit, but I mean, I don't know that people know this, but it is not just that the show gets finished recording and then it's like bloop glonk send. It's like the level of checking and rechecking and checking, and then a computer that does it, and so many
Multiple
things.
computers.
This year the QC quality control is like super intense.
There's
There's like
5
3 or 4,
Yeah.
5 layers. And I want to put this out there too, because I kind of got wind of this, and a couple of people out there, enough people to notice, were kind of voicing complaints that the sound effects were drowning out the competitor's audio to the point where they couldn't even hear what the person is saying. And I need to tell you to check your settings.
Yes,
like check
girl.
your own shit, because everyone else in the world is watching the show. We're all talking about it and freaking out how good it is. You need to look at your stuff.
Yeah, and something to consider. This is something that all networks are dealing with right now. When we make our show, or anybody makes their TV show, used to, it would go on a TV. That's it. That's the only way you could watch it. But now people are watching it on an iPad, on their phone, on their laptop, on a streaming service through another streaming service. So you can watch Shudder on Amazon Prime, which has its own settings and stuff. So it's hard to keep up with technology that is exact across the board. So there's probably some kind of setting. I think I'm going to look into it, and we'll tell the listeners.
For the listeners out there, because this happens to me all the time. If you are watching on a TV and you are, whether it's Netflix or Amazon, and I think actually we've had this happen with other shows on AMC, because that's how we watch Shudders, through AMC. Double check that it's not trying to read your settings as though you have like a home theater, because it sometimes is preset where it's like, oh, you're listening in 5.1. It's like, I'm actually listening on a TV. Change that setting, or listen with headphones, girl. Like, the show is amazing in headphones.
It's not in surround sound.
Yeah.
That's what it is. So if you watch the show on something that has surround sound, there's issues.
Leah asks, I am absolutely gagged that you approach the horror of the holidays and that our monsters delivered that deliciously filthy sack of holiday goodies. However, was there a particular other character from an obscure holiday that you wish was brought to life?
I wanted a leprechaun.
Oh, yes.
I wanted a leprechaun, and I couldn't believe we didn't see some kind of Krampus.
I wanted there to be like a Portland Martha for Arbor Day, but like a horror version where she had like a chainsaw sticking out of her.
Yes!
And she had like an accident trimming her tree.
Oh. A real deep cut.
Damn.
They asked obscure. I mean, that's pretty obscure. The Great Pumpkin, that would have been good too.
Ooh. Cody from Durham asks, I need to know more about that fucking chicken Desiree brought on stage. Everyone is saying that it was an actual raw chicken, but she literally took a few bites out of it. Was it a real chicken? And if so, did Desiree get sick because of it?
She absolutely did take bites out of that very real, very raw chicken.
Well, I don't think
was
she
crazy.
got, what is it, salmonella?
Yeah.
I don't think she could say it.
Salmonella.
Salmonella. She didn't get that. I mean, she'd be dead, right? If she did, or she'd have went to the hospital.
Yeah, I don't think she got sick. I definitely think she could have, and she was just wild. Like, what an unhinged performance! It was crazy.
Somebody said, "How could you let her do this to this chicken?" And I just want to put it out there. I did not. I'm directing the fucking show, and I did not see the chicken until Desiree come flying. Remember, she came running and she fell. And I was like, is that a chicken? And at that point, what am I going to do? Like, erase the whole floor show? Like, yes, she had a chicken. And the show's shocking, right? That's the point of it. Go to a KFC if you think this is scary. You know what I mean? Like, anyways, yeah, but we didn't know the chicken until it happened.
Charles in DC writes, on episode 3, my husband and I had a really hard time watching the bonbon section. Yuck. Can you tell us what it smelled like? Did any of the TV crew members lose their lunch while trying to film it?
I almost lost I had to go. I can't. You know how I am with that. And then you hear it, you smell it, and then you hear it. You hear them like, bleh, bleh, and then the whole room
Especially
is doing it like
headphones.
a barfarama.
There's a smell because you cooked those brains before on the soundstage.
Yep.
So they were cooking them, and it smell just fried brains throughout the whole set. It was disgusting. And then they put fish sauce on top of it. So then it was like two competing putrid scents.
Okay. It's funny you mentioned the fish sauce because when I was first watching, it's brains and this with a fish sauce, and I instantly was like, oh God, some sort of fishy, goopy, whatever. And then I was like, oh, wait, fish sauce, which I'm guessing is sort of, you can cook with it, but the smell. Oh, if you have never been to a Vietnamese restaurant in the back, and hi, I'm Vietnamese, I can say this. If you have never been and you've never cooked with fish sauce, your life has changed. The pungent nature, mama, on your clothes for life.
Yeah.
Someone described it. Someone who ate it, one of the cast members was like, it tasted like rotten fish, and it was cold, and the texture was cold hot dog.
Oh, yes! That's the meat I want from a Tammy account. Cole from Maryland asks, with Drac and Swan being two independent people who come together to form a duo persona, have you two ever had a disagreement on where to take your makeup / outfits, whether it be for an episode and or just long-term changes to makeup since you always match?
I'm going to say, have we ever? Of course. And there was a period of probably a couple of years where it was like, it happened constantly. And I think this is when we were really finding our own footing about how we wanted to present ourselves as horror hosts. And always having a partner is its own dynamic, right? You can learn how to perform, but learning how to perform with one other person on stage, two is harder than one or three. Mm-hmm. Like with one, you can do whatever you want and no one will question it. Right? With three, there's some autonomy, someone in the middle. You all don't have to match. But with two, if it's not synced, it's off.
Yeah.
It's got to be right or it's wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
So we used to fight constantly, but now I think we're pretty much in alignment, right? Like we know who we are and what we do. If there's any kind of conflict, it's about what we travel with because Drac likes to make it. Like I'm the one who like packs and takes care of all of the drag.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm like, I am making sure we have everything we need. This is the entirety of the show. These are our looks for act 1, act 2, act 3, the meet and greet, the travel look. Like it's a lot. And when she's like, I want to wear the latex, I'm like, no, we're not.
Yes.
That's what we used to fight about was latex because I love latex and I wanted to wear latex as kind of our thing at all times. Oh. Yeah, at clubs and stuff. But I wouldn't get hot. But she would get like super hot. Our temperatures are just different. So it was always this fight about do we wear latex?
It's kind of interesting what's happened in recent years though, because now it's like the tide has flipped a little bit where you're like, oh my God, this is like so hot and uncomfortable. And I'm like,
The one look that I don't think I've ever seen you drag personally more uncomfortable is baked potato from season 5.
Oh.
I was like, oh God, we gotta get her a fucking water, honey. Like,
yeah, that plastic raincoat with a plastic dress under it. Oh my God.
And
I
layers,
get hot just thinking about it.
That big horsehair wig. And that was like episode 7 or 8. So we had been doing that for like a month and more. So yeah, fatigue.
Annalisa asks, I would never be able to come to the Halloween ball, even though I would love to. Would there ever be a chance that the ball could be filmed and played as a show, or something that your fans could pay for? Hoping you guys go on tour again soon, and hope y'all make it to Atlanta.
I would love to be able to do that. And I used to have a fantasy of doing exactly that. But here's the thing. We could never get the rights to the music. So you couldn't really put it out there. I mean, maybe on YouTube, if it wasn't monetized in any kind of way, there might be.
But it would get flagged
It'd be so
like
hard.
500 times. But also, here's the other thing about it. This is not a drag show.
Yeah.
This is a party. This is a dance party. It is a drinking, dirty, like people get down at this party. And so I would not have cameras there because people wouldn't be comfortable to go as crazy as they normally do, especially in the basement.
Oh, girl, and you got to make that horny.
Oh, and I do think announcements for a season 6 tour are incoming, and Atlanta will definitely be on the docket.
Yes. Gabrielle asks, How would the two of you describe the way your drag has changed throughout the course of the show? Of course, as a season 1 fan, I've seen it happen before my eyes, but I'd be very interested to hear your point of view on this. Also, Swan, are you really the mean one? I love how you actually cracked yourself up right before judgment.
Oh, it's funny.
Well, why don't you answer her, Swan?
Am I really the mean one? I don't know. Am I really the mean one? I've never thought about it, Whoopi. I think I have to go to the library.
Well, to answer the first question, since you won't answer the second one, you asked how it changed on the show specifically, not in the course of our drag. Here's how it's changed. Before we were on the show, we had outrageous looks in nightlife, and that's what got us a lot of attention. We got approached by Viacom and all these places to do our own reality show, and there was talks at one point of like go on Drag Race. I mean, there's like all kinds of different things, many opportunities for reality shows, and what did we want to do? But when we did Dragula in the beginning, we thought, we don't want to look that loud because it feels like we're competing with the competitors. And it seemed like, well, I'm not competing with them, so I should be a little quieter or a little smaller. And I think we did that for the first couple of years. And then it was season 3 that I was like, that is dumb. That's a bad idea. Let's go back to what we normally would do. And then I think we're more evolved into ourselves.
I agree. And I think that happened across the board in every aspect of the production. In the beginning, like you mentioned earlier, yes, we used to film the death scenes first because it was a mechanism of production, and we're like, oh, they might not want to stick around. Like the show didn't have the force that it has now. Now everybody definitely wants their death scene. It's like their moment, right, in the episode that they go home. So that was something that developed around season 3. And for the first couple of seasons, we were pretty much just sourcing our own drag because we were a much smaller production. It was all the stuff that Drac and I had already had in our closet, but just no one had ever seen it because it had never been on TV before. But once I think season 3 and 4 came around, we were really maturing. We developed the lab, the boudoir kind of like became part of the show. And then, then the cauldron was born in season 4 and on until now you have season 6, which just looks amazing.
I always thought it was kind of bitchy. On season 2, I remember we've had these conversations back then, and I was like, how am I going to show up like in a gigantic float? It seemed bitchy at the time. Like, it's like, oh, I'm sitting here in this judge's booth in this giant Grand Poobah outfit. I don't know. It just seemed, now I don't think that, but back then I did.
Grand Poobah. And my favorite Dracism to describe drag is parade float.
Yeah.
And you always know it's a fucking parade float outfit.
Eva had a parade float in Titan.
She won that episode.
She did.
It was cool. It was a cool one.
Well, sometimes a parade float is what you need.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Absolutely. You got to pull out the parade float.
Tell that to Grey Matter on this episode.
Come on, drag tarp. Oh, fashion tarp. Mark asks, so my question is, on the most recent episode of the Boulet Brothers Dragula, you gave compliments to the monster who dressed up as a clown, but on the last week's episode, you guys said you were tired of clowns. What gives? Did you guys just forget no more clowns and no more duplicates?
I think you forgot that these are 2 different episodes and 2 different challenges.
I think she forgot that it's your fucking show. Okay.
Someone remind me, for my brain is Swiss cheese, what was the clown in the recent episode?
Jaharia's birthday.
Oh, right.
Yeah, because we had said, for doll challenge, they're right, because we did say it's enough clowns, which I'm probably now that I'm thinking about it, if I was Jaharia, I would have been like, uh-oh.
She's like, oh, we're starting to sweat, honey.
I think the reason it didn't ping the same is because I just kept thinking birthday more than clown. Yeah, I don't know.
I also, if I may, I think that there are things that are said in a judgment that are, yes, they are real. Yes, they have weight and they matter, but they're also banter and they're just fun things to say. And it's, there's 17,000 clowns in the room. You're like, no more clowns. But then, look, if there's a clown challenge later in the season, you can't be like, oh, he said there's no more clowns. So
there's the whole thing, like you can't see the forest from the trees, you know, and be from the outside, like driving into set every day, and then you all of a sudden you're on set and you see them and they're in a clown. I mean, when you just look at them real quick, you're like, why the fuck is everybody dressed like a clown? That's why I said that. Because it was, the promo episode 1, episode 2. I'm like, there is a lot of clowns this year. Like, what is happening?
Season 6 do love a clown. Danica from Big Bear writes, when the competitors are getting ready in the lab and the warning goes off that the floor show is about to begin, how much time do they really have to finish getting ready? Sometimes they look so far from the finished look. It's amazing what can be accomplished in a short amount of time.
It's basically an hour warning. That's what it is. It doesn't mean the floor show is about to start right then. It just means you have one more hour left. And as you notice, you point this out a lot. Some people like to sit there and talk and do all this stuff and they get behind. So some of them really are panicking when the thing goes off because they don't have time to do it.
Plus, it's a little bit of camp, right? And I think recent episodes, the competitors also know and realize that. So when they start like screaming and like spinning in circles, they're leaning into the camp of it all, and we can't get enough of it. Like, I love it. You're lucky that we shortened the alarm just because we're like, maybe everybody doesn't love it as much as we do, but it ain't going anywhere.
All right, everybody, that is it. Make sure you watch the next episode of the Boulet Brothers Dragula season 666. It's coming out this Monday on Shudder and AMC Plus. Remember to write in to us if you have any questions at creatures@bouletbrothersdragula.com. Let us know your name and where you're writing from. Until next time, Uglies.
I am the mean one. The Boulet Brothers Creatures of the Night is hosted and produced by Mortem and Swantula Boulet, along with co-host Ian DeVogler, with music by Neuron Spectre.